Hello, my name is Mr. North and welcome to the 2021 options process. This presentation is designed for parents and students that have been selected on Pathway A. The purpose of this presentation is to bring you up to speed with everything that's involved in the options process and hopefully answer any questions that you may have. One of the questions that we get asked is, why do we start our options process in year 9, or students start on the GCC courses in year 9 rather than year 10? And we're really confident in what we do at Baysgarth, because nationally the picture is that year 9 tends to be the year where students have the worst behaviour data. Students become switched off with subjects. They realise that, I'm not good in a particular area, but I've got another year before I can choose my options. So behaviour tends to slip. We saw that when we first started at Baysgarth, this leadership team, and we decided to make the change because what we've seen since, the students are far more motivated because they're empowered to make the choices of their options a year earlier. So they find themselves motivated because they're doing something that they feel passionate about, and they know that they've started their GCSE work. So everything that they do in year 9 is purposeful, and it's leading to something that will hopefully benefit them in the future. So we're really happy with that decision. Also, we've got the added changes in the last 3 or 4 years that the government reformed the GCSEs and made everything slightly tougher and with more content. So we're confident that it's a right move, because allowing our students just that little bit of extra time on the GCSE content, and we're pretty confident that will lead to even better results. Our results nationally are in the top 4% of schools nationwide, and we think this strategy will allow us to go one step better. I put this slide in to make parents and students aware about the changes to the GCC grading. I'm sure most people will be aware of the new 1 to 9 scale that's out there, but might not understand what that means when comparing it to old GCC grades. So it's most useful to look at the places where it matches identically. If you look at the grade 7 on the system there, it is actually exactly the same to what an A used to be. And likewise, if you look at a grade 4, it's exactly the same as a C. So there are some similarities. I suppose the biggest difference for me would be the grade 9. It's almost equivalent to an A star, making it that much more difficult to achieve. So I'll just talk you through the options process timeline. I did send a letter out with most of this information on, but it doesn't hurt to go through it again. So currently you're receiving this presentation on a Monday, so the options fair will have taken place and students will have gone around and had a look at the different subject areas, and on a Wednesday this week students will have the opportunity to take part in some taster lessons, and these are normally new subjects they've not studied before. Subjects like business, health and social care, subjects like that. So subjects where they've got no previous experience, just to give them that taste of what it will be like. Then after that, on Wednesday, we'll be releasing the options subject or the options forms to parents, so you'll be able to sit down at home and discuss what options are best for your son or daughter. And the deadline for this is the 18th of April. After that time, we start work at school constructing the option blocks and making this fit into the timetable. And we'll confirm at the beginning of May the options that your son or daughter have been offered. For the most part, we do tend to be able to give students their first choice. We were well over 90% last year in doing this. However, on the odd occasion, a subject might not run if not enough people select it, or it could clash. If 2 subjects are put in the same option block, it could clash, so students may have to choose one or the other. So if that does happen, and you're in the 10% of students where that might be an issue, we will be in contact over the telephone to discuss those things. Students across year 8 have been split into 3 pathways. Now you parents and students that have been selected for pathway A. But what I would say about all the pathways, if you think that you're not happy on a particular pathway and you'd like to move pathway, that is absolutely fine. This is just us guiding you and offering our opinion, but we'll do the guiding, but you will be the one that will decide things. So yeah, under no circumstances think that we are forcing anybody to do anything. This is just purely guidance, and as long as you're happy with the pathway you've chosen, then we will be happy as well. When it comes to options in year 8, some students think, oh brilliant, I can drop English and maths, I don't have to do that anymore because that's part of the options process. Unfortunately, it's not. Legally, students have to continue with English, maths and science, as well as 1 hour of PE and some PHSE type activities as well. So that is the compulsory aspect of the options process. Then students have other choices after that. There are some restrictions the government puts in place, and some schools do this very differently to others. For example, some schools insist on the pathway that you're on, that it would be triple science, which would take up one of your options. Then students have to do geography and history, which takes up option 2 and option 3, which leaves option 4. So the options process in some schools is literally choosing between French, German or Spanish. Now we absolutely don't agree with that at Baysgarth. Well-being is key to all students, and we want students to be happy and motivated and engaged. That won't motivate our students if they are reluctant to choose some of those subjects. You know, if there's a passion out there, if someone wants to be teaching nursery, so childcare is the subject that they want to do more than any other, then we think it's really important that they should be able to do that. Likewise, if you want a career as a PE teacher and sports the most important subject, then we would support that as well. Or if it's particularly got a real passion for the arts, then we think it's only fair that a student should be able to concentrate their efforts in those particular subjects. So what we actually do at Baysgarth is we encourage students to take subjects, especially in pathway A, like geography, history and a language. We're thoroughly on board with that, and we think it'd be a good thing because it certainly looks good on CVs. Colleges are impressed by those subjects because they are the most difficult ones. However, the reality of the situation is that we do not insist upon it. So we give students, if they do triple science and they stay on this pathway, we give them three option choices, all right, where they can pick any range of combinations that they wish to make sure that they are happy. So the English Book Laureate Award is, students don't actually get this. It's just talked about from the government. It's one of their ambitions. They would like particularly students in the A pathway to study English, maths, 2 sciences at least, a foreign language and a humanities subject, because they feel these are the most difficult subjects, therefore they would like the most students taking it. Universities in theory are impressed by this, colleges, however it does mean that students are very restricted in their option choices if they go down this pathway. That is why we do not force students to do this. However, students can do this if they want to. There's nothing to stop students doing English and history or doing 2 languages at Baysgarth. Absolutely, we would support that if students want to do that. However, it is not compulsory. You know, as I've said, students don't actually get a certificate for this. It's just a statistic that the government collates when they're measuring it against schools. But it's not something that at Baysgarth that we worry about too much. We'd rather that the students have that freedom to choose subjects that interest them. So here are all the options out in front of you. So again, the recommended aspect of this is, you know, ideally the government would like you to choose either geography or history and then choose one from German or French and then have one final option choice. The reality is you get 3 choices from all of these subjects. So if you want to pick German, geography, history or French, you can do, or you can use all of your picks to choose those subjects, but you don't have to. All right. Triple science is one of your picks already, so that is something that you would have to do if you want to stay on this pathway, and then the rest of them are up to you. So if you want to do those other subjects, you can do, but if you want to pick a completely different mix of subject, again, speak to your parents and you make that choice if that's something you want to do. A final thing about triple science then, the reason why it differs from dual science is the top 50 students in science have been selected for the triple science pathway. The reason for this is because you'll do 7 hours of science a week and it will culminate in 6 exams in science that are 1 hour and 45 minutes long each. So the demands on students are quite high, therefore it's really important that we select the students that we think can cope with this. Now, if triple science doesn't sound like it's going to be your cup of tea, and you think, no, actually, I think just doing the other pathway with double science sounds something that I would enjoy more, then that's your choice. All right, but triple science is a popular pathway. Students that start this pathway tend to do really well in the sciences because we've picked students based on their ability. But as always, if you're not passionate about science and you'd rather spend your time elsewhere, speak to me and we will certainly swap pathways for you. Any specific questions about science in particular, if you speak to Miss Fretwell, the head of science, she'll be able to answer any of those. And you can see the amount of option subjects we actually have on the screen. This is way more than any other school in the local area. We believe in offering as much choice to our students as possible to try and capture what they find exciting, so they're motivated and they become passionate about their learning. Making the right decision is absolutely key. Students having conversations with parents, other students, tutors is really important in this. Gather as much information as you can. The options fair on Friday was a good chance to go around and see the different areas, and the taster sessions will be a really important part of making decisions. And all the time reducing the amount of subjects that are on your shortlist to make your final choices. So in your case, it would be triple science plus which other 3 subjects do you go with. Also, you'll need to, when you do your options form, you will need to have a couple of reserve choices just in case your first choices don't run. But hopefully when you've got this video, you've also seen all of the great resources that are on the website that we've launched. Watch the videos, gather the information, and come to a decision that you're happy with. Some important points to note before you do your option choices. Not every course is going to run. Because we offer a wide range of courses, it depends on the take-up. Certain courses such as business studies, get 6 or 7 classes every single year, whereas other subjects tend to just get 1. So if you pick 2 subjects or 3 subjects that just have 1 class and they end up in the same option block, that means you have to choose between them. All right, which is why we get you to pick them in an order. Also, there's some new subjects on this year. RE, IT, statistics. We don't know what the take-up's going to be like for some of those. Having spoken to the students, we think some of those students are going to do some of those subjects are going to do really well, such as IT, but there's no guarantee. For instance, if less than 15 students pick a subject, then it wouldn't be financially viable for us to run that subject on limited budgets. We just can't afford to have classes with such small student numbers in, so those subjects would not run. So then it would make you go for a reserve subject. So be aware of that, because it is important to consider. We don't want you to be we need you to go into the options process with your eyes open to the possibility that you might not always get what you've selected. Over 90% of students got their first choice last year, so it's by no means a high probability that you're going to have subjects not running, but it can happen. Another point to note, you can select a second humanities subject, so you can study history and geography as well as you can study both French and German. I've covered that earlier on, but it's important to make that clear. You cannot select the same subject twice, so if you absolutely want to do sport as your favourite subject, don't put it in your first, second and third choices. Just put it once, we get the message. Some restrictions though, when it comes to art and graphics, the government have decided that those subjects are too similar, so they only want you to choose one of those subjects. And sorry, my head is obscuring part of this message at the bottom, but it says you cannot study performing arts drama and performing arts dance. Again, very similar subjects, so you've got to choose between the 2. How to complete the options form online is pretty straightforward. So you need to log on to the options online website from the 24th of March using the Basegaff email address your son or daughter has and their password as well. And the link's there on the screen. Most students have already registered for this, and it's a pretty straightforward process when it comes to selecting your subjects. So you'll see all the subjects on the screen and you just need to select them in the order that you would like to choose them, and you click your reserve subjects as well, and you can reorder them pretty easily just by having a little bit of a play. The good news is you can resubmit this as many times as you like if you change your mind up to the end of the options process. So if you think about it, change your mind, just go back in, change it and save it. As easy as that. And something else important to say, that at any point during year 8, if you change your mind, and even I've done this in the assemblies this week to the students and told them that all the way up to Christmas in year 9, if students change their mind and think this isn't what I thought it was going to be, then all they need to do is they need to come and speak to me, and I will change their option choices. The big thing for me is that students are happy in school, they're enjoying the learning, and if they've made a mistake, they don't have to live with that mistake for the next 3 years. We can change it around and we can get them doing something that they really want to do. And that's what it will look like when your options finally come through, and you can just order them in terms of your preference. And this example here, we have art, engineering, hair and beauty and food as the choices, and then on the right hand side you've got history and business as the reserves. But I should say on the previous page that your options will look slightly different, because triple science will be a compulsory choice for you, and then you will only have 3 option choices. But your options A form will be personalised to you, so don't worry, you can't make any mistakes. And once you're finished, hit the save button, and as I've said, you can log in any time before that to change your subjects all the way up to the 18th of April. And there's a step-by-step guide as well that will be sent out to you to support you in doing this. I've covered most of this already, so I'll quickly reiterate what's on the screen, but it's just the process. What happens next? Once you've got all the information in, we will look for the most effective combination of subjects, so the most students get their first choices. Then after that, we'll go and speak to every student that's not been able to get their first choices, and we'll have conversations with parents as well to make sure that we personalise the process for you, to make sure that everybody's happy and get your next best choice. And then finally, letters will be sent to all parents to confirm the final option choices. A really exciting part of Year 9 is the Year 9 Gateway curriculum. This is the first term on the run up to Christmas for our learners to do things slightly differently, because we've covered all the GCSE, also all the national curriculum content when it comes to years 7 and 8. We've covered all that in that time. And before we start the GCSE content, we want to do things slightly differently. So for the first 2 half terms, we won't do any GCSE content in English, Maths or Science, but instead those subjects will be doing the most interesting topics within their field that really brings those subjects for life. And for option subjects, this is a great opportunity for them to, rather than being guided by the GCSE specifications, is to actually look at the most innovative thinking that's in each subject area and to try and bring the best experiences into that subject as well. The best ideas, the best businesses, the best people. We're really trying to engage people and students in our subjects at this particular time. And we're also, as part of this, we're integrating careers into this first term where students will do a project. So we're really getting them to think about how each subject can lead to career pathways as well. So I think it's a really, really good model that we're really proud of. And there's also a really strong rationale behind it as well. You know, because it's increasing the breadth of curriculum that our students get to study. It's also allowing learners to experience what the subject like before the GCSE content actually starts. So if a student wants to move at any point during the first term, they won't actually be behind on any of the GCSE work. They'll only miss some of the gateway curriculum, which they'll have to be able to catch up on a lot easier. It also looks at in developing learning skills to increase independence and success in further and higher education, as well as looking at specific careers information as well. We'll look at real life scenarios and context for subjects and illustrate the important role they play in society. The whole idea is we spark that interest in subjects, you know, rather than just looking straight at the content. We get people interested, and each subject finishes that first term with a different project. In food, it was all about cooking for a large group of people this year and planning an event. In art, they had to do some street art, you know, stuff that students really enjoy. In business study, it was all about a Dragon's Den style presentation in the group, getting people working together. Lots of different ideas, lots of different concepts, but get students interested. It's been really successful this year, and the student survey that we did on this, it was incredibly popular, and we hope to build this more and more this year, and hopefully with no COVID restrictions we can get our students out there to see some real life businesses and get people experiencing the subject in real life as well. So if you have any questions about the options process as a whole, then please get in contact with me at the school. It's andrew.north@baysgowschool.co.uk, or just give the office a ring and leave a message for me and I'll get back to you. but I wouldn't be doing my job properly if I didn't push my own subject at this opportunity as well, or given this opportunity. So business studies is my subject, and it's 3 units, the course. The first unit involves students studying real life businesses. We take them on trips to Cave Castle, which is their prom venue, so they get to have a look behind the scenes about how to run a successful hotel. And we also take them to Blonde's, which is a vegan coffee shop based over in Cottingham, where the students are invited over and they get to meet the owner of that business, and she tells them all about her business experience. We find that students find that really engaging and a great way to get them started on the course. The second unit is all about students being an entrepreneur themselves, and this prepares them for a future of them being business owners potentially, and gives them all the skills they need. And the final part is them looking at the examined unit, which is on finance and promotion. And the beauty of this is students can actually sit that exam in year 10. So in theory, they're completely finished business studies in year 10, which has some big advantages, which I'll talk about shortly. Also, the course does teach valuable life skills, and we cover interview technique and how to be successful when applying jobs, which can be really, really useful for students, even if business studies is not going to be their main subject as they carry on through to A levels and on to university. It's also the most popular degree subject in the UK and ranks in the top 5 for future income from employment. So we think business studies has a lot to offer. So why choose business then? Well, business results are in the top 1% nationally when compared to all other schools. We have been there for the last 5 years. We are really good at what we do. We know how to get students good grades based on good teaching, but also listening to the students, listening to feedback, and make sure the businesses that we go visit really engage the students as well. We are the most popular option choice by far. We get 6 or 7 option groups, which has its advantages if you pick business, because you know you're going to get onto business because we've got so many groups, but also because we're flexible, it means it increases the likelihood that you get your other option choices as well, because we don't block out against any of your other subjects. So if you pick a subject that only runs in one option block, then you can just move your business pick to a different option block, so it doesn't restrict that. We also run a range of brilliant trips. I mentioned the year 9 ones that we go on. Year 10 we go to Alton Towers for a business trip, and year 11 we visit Sheffield Hallam University, where we essentially have a tour and students get a little bit of the student experience and see what life is like at university, to hopefully get students interested in what might be coming and potentially studying business as well. Also, on the way back from that trip, we stop off at Meadowhall and give the students a bit of free time to experience the retail experience of Meadowhall and get some food and some drink, and it's a really enjoyable trip. We've got an experienced teaching team, and myself and Mr. Roberts, we've been here for 6 years now, and we're not planning on going anywhere soon, which students, you know, really, I think that's beneficial to them to know that we're going to be there, and they know what they're going to get with us. They're going to get a good deal. The course is 60% coursework, which in this day and age where the coursework aspect has almost been stripped out at GCSE level, it has big advantages because we go through the coursework really quickly. We sit the exam in year 10. They get 2 opportunities. However, most students only need 1, and that will be in the Christmas of year 10. But the best mark does count from those exams. So if you need a second go, you can have it, which means by the end of year 10, we will be finished. So in year 11, I present students with a choice. You can either spend your extra time in lessons doing revision for your English, Maths, Science, anything you want on the computers, or we can do an extra GCSE. And that's by far and away the most popular option, and we do GCSE in personal finance. Students find that really useful. You know, it is probably the best qualification I've ever taught because it's every single bit of it's useful for students. It's those life skills that you always hear people say, well, I wish I was taught that at school. All right, it'll teach young people how to manage their finances effectively when they're adults, and that's something that we think is absolutely crucial. And our results in this subject, again, are in the top 1% nationally when compared to other schools. So another reason is a bit business, you know, a bit of business terminology. You buy one, you get one free, essentially. You get 2 GCSEs compared to 1. So if you've got any specific questions about business studies or need any more information, please get in touch with myself or Mr. Roberts. I hope you found this presentation useful, and good luck with making your option choices.